There's so much to be said.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for This Needs to Be Said. The guest that we have today, we've had him on before, and you want to keep your pen and paper out because we had more to talk about. So we made it a two-part series. So today, tonight, this evening, when you're tuning in to the show, you're going to know the Rappin Realtor, but you're going to get in a deeper conversation because before we talked about how the name came about, and we talked about, his wife's support of him and him being a veteran, and all of those things are great. But as our time was winding up, he was sharing or about to share a personal experience, and I couldn't let that time slip by. So I'm welcoming Ed, the Rappin Realtor, back to This Needs to Be Said TV. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for allowing me more time with you and allowing us to dig a little deeper into the conversation. So I want you to pick up where we left off because you were sharing about a personal experience that you and your wife experienced when you were renting a property, something that I guess you didn't even know to look into. Can you pick up right there for me?
Okay, so what I was saying before is that we basically were moving from Atlanta to Charlotte. We were renting a house and we just bought a lot of goods and stuff for our house and we were about to move in. And as we pulled up to the house, we saw a guy, moving some stuff out. And so I asked him, what's going on? We're supposed to move in. Are you guys moving out? Were you renting this house before? And he was like, no, they didn't tell you. And I was like, didn't tell me what?
No.
And he was like, well, this property has been foreclosed and we're boarding it up and it's going to be, sold. And I was like, that you must have made a mistake or something like that because I paid my deposit. I actually had a realtor. I had a real estate agent at the time. And I was like, this can't be happening because I have all my stuff in the car. My family is here and we don't have anywhere else to go. And he just said, well, I don't know what to tell you, but I'm sorry that I have to give you this news, but this property is being foreclosed.
What happened next?
So I had to consult with my real estate agent. So she was in touch with the guy that was renting it out. And I think him and his wife were having issues or marital problems. They were splitting, they were getting a divorce, and one wasn't talking to the other. We eventually got our money back.
Well, that's good.
But, it was a lot of fighting back and forth, and it was just, we had to end up renting somewhere else, but it was just a horrible experience. And then just as a result of that, I've always heard of that happening, but I never thought that was going to happen. Nobody ever thinks it could happen to them.
Of course.
And that was the whole point of getting a real estate agent. But it happened and we had to deal with it. And I just felt, as a man, I just didn't feel good. I felt like I couldn't provide for my family. My wife was crying, the kids were crying, because we were just out there, basically homeless.
Yeah. So what were the lessons that you learned? The first one was just because you think it can't happen to you, it can happen to you. But
Right.
I understand why a person wouldn't look any further. Then you yourself chose a real estate agent to help you find a rental property, which isn't common. So you're thinking that you've done a good job by getting this person who that's what they do. So they should be aware and know things. But even in that situation, you learned it could still happen to you. But what were some other lessons that you learned, or what were the lessons you learned?
Well, one of the lessons I learned is that even as a real estate agent, they still have to do their due diligence. You may want to ask the question to the agent, is the person, the private renter, are they caught up on their mortgage? And do you have, anything showing that? So that's another question that I probably would have probed and asked for had I known that we could have potentially been in a situation.
I would feel bad asking a real estate agent that. I would feel like, oh man, I don't mean to judge you, but could
Right.
you? So give me your real estate agent. How would I say that to you? Not just say it, but I would feel uncomfortable because I would assume you would already know to do that.
Right. I would just say, just straight up, hey, I just, I've had, friends and I've known of people, renting properties that are in the process of being foreclosed. Is there any way that you can get some type of, information showing that the rent has been, the mortgage has been paid up? Because I don't want to, we're moving. I don't want to put myself in a situation to where me and my family could be out on the streets because
Absolutely.
of yeah. I mean, there's no real, you could be tactful about it, but this is your family. This is your livelihood.
Right.
Like, I felt like, I was working, I had a job, and I felt homeless, so that's, until you're actually in that situation, you can hear about it, but until you're actually in it, it's just not a good feeling to have. And there's a lot of people out there that are like that don't even have, real estate agents. They're just working directly with the landlord, and the landlord is collecting their rent, and they already received their foreclosure notice and everything, and they're just taking their money and running. What
would you tell a person who didn't get a real estate agent like you did that finds themselves in that situation?
Get a real estate agent. You definitely have. You know what I'm saying? You definitely want, but if they didn't get a real estate agent, they just would probably have to just take legal action and get a real estate attorney to help them at that point.
Oh, wow.
If they're doing it with a private seller or private renter, they probably want to ask them the question, is there any way that you can show me that has been, paid up and it's current?
I think, I could see me asking the owner that directly, but the real estate agent, I would just assume that that they've covered all their bases. So maybe not. Maybe, some things are not, I guess, routine.
Right.
Okay.
Well, they should, but in this case, the ball was dropped somewhere.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't hurt to at least, pose that question. If it could save you some heartache,
I
would definitely do it.
Yeah, because the faces of homelessness are different. They show up in so many different ways. In a surprise, you've done everything that you thought was the right thing to do, and it still didn't work out for you. And it is scary. You came from another state, and you came, ready to settle down and get rooted in and get to know the community. And your first experience is, a heartbreaking one. I didn't mean to intervene, but I didn't want that question to get away from us. What were some other other lessons that you learned?
Well, from that is just basically having a backup plan just in case, because we had no backup plan. Our house that we had in Atlanta we were renting that out to someone, so it was already rented out. So we didn't even have a backup plan. So just always just kind of have a backup plan just in case.
Yeah.
So that was a lesson that I learned. But other than that, just try to do your due diligence on the front end. And I felt bad. It was a double bad on me because I'm a real estate agent. I wasn't real estate in North Carolina at the time, but I just felt like I should have known better. But there's really no way I would have known unless I would have asked that real estate agent, if they had anything showing that the mortgage was, on time.
How long did it take you all to find another place?
It took us about a couple of weeks, maybe probably another 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
At what point did you think moving here to Charlotte was a bad idea?
At that point, because we moved there from, I got a promotion on my job, so we were happy about that. But I was like, where are the cameras? This must be some type of.
Am I being punked? Right?
Exactly.
Wow. So 2 weeks go by and you find a new place and you get situated. You're a real estate agent already. You have a promotion on your job. So you move forward. What happens next for you? What was your focus at that point?
Well, my focus was just rebuilding, trying to get my mindset together, trying to get my kids in school. My son was in college. My daughter, it was her senior year, so she was hating.
Oh, man.
So
you messing up important time to get to know people and cement yourself at this new school your senior year.
I know. So, so just getting, things figured out from that standpoint and just rebuilding. So it took me a while to kind of get used to Charlotte and the flow of things.
What's a while?
Probably about a year.
Okay.
About a year and a half. Yeah.
All right. So everybody's good, and you began to do your real estate here. So did you start with educating people on how to avoid what you ran into? Is that even part of your program?
Yes, yes. So that's something that I talk to them about. When I talk to clients, a lot of times they come from that situation.
Oh, okay.
Calling me, they're like, "Hey, I'm renting a house, and the landlord all of a sudden decided they wanted to sell. They didn't give us any notice, and they just want us out, and we have to find a place to live." So,
Hmm.
and some of them are living in cars or hotels as a result because when the landlord makes these decisions, it happens all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And your life changes all of a sudden. People just forget housing is a real big part of your day-to-day life. Like if you don't know where you're going to go after you get off work, or kids don't know where they're going to come home from school, I mean, that's rough, because they still have to perform. You still got to go to work.
Yes.
You have to go to school,
Yes.
but your home life gives you that stability that you need to carry on.
So tying directly back into the affordable housing situation that can be found anywhere in the world, but we're in Charlotte, North Carolina, Mecklenburg County, and the statistics I haven't found to be consistent. So as I'm looking over who's without housing, if it's one person without housing, that's one too many in my book, but we live in a world where we want to count things and people and research what this looks like. And one thing that is not being reported consistently is the effects, like what you said. And it's not something I guess we can monetize. Your mindset, getting off from work, if you know where home is when you get off from work, no matter where home is, as long as you know where it is and the kids know where it is, and you don't have to make sure you've coordinated phone calls or communications, we're meeting at this point or be there. You don't have to do all this choreographing to get everyone in one spot at night and then disperse them in the morning and then think of a new plan every day. You take that for granted when you know where home is. You know you can go home, kick your shoes off, walk around naked if that's what you want to do. And there's nobody to say, hey, you can't do that here. This is a community space, or it's, inappropriate to be outside naked. You can't do that if you don't know where home is. You can't just be free.
Right.
And giving the kids peace of mind, thinking of how that affects them. And if they're not properly housed, they're probably not properly fed either. So you have a student that is expected to perform, an adult that's expected to perform, but haven't had a good night's rest, haven't had, a good meal probably. And a good meal is being able to eat it and not have to go right to sleep or sleep where you ate. We just don't think about all those things. And then the emotional part, you as a man, you've done everything that you knew to do for your family, and still you felt like you weren't providing properly, but you did everything right.
Right.
And you could still say, okay, I did everything right, but it didn't work out right, so I still feel defeated. So there's a lot of emotional stuff that happens with the men, the women, the children, the community, that is the effect of not having a stable home environment. And you just experienced that for a short period of time, and it was something you could foresee solving. But what about the people who don't see the solution? They don't have enough of resources to come in to answer the problem of, hey, this property is foreclosed. Sorry.
Right. Because we actually left from that situation. We went to an extended stay. So we had to have an extended stay for 2 weeks. So I got a small taste, like you're saying, to your point, of what people are experiencing every day. And it was horrible because you just feel like you're just misplaced and you just don't have a home. You're just on the outside looking in. And you still have to go to work. I still had to go to my job. I just started a new job. My daughter still had to go to school. Wife still had to go to work, so, it's hard, and people don't think about it until you're faced with that. And again, maybe I'm thinking I'm a person that believes everything happens for a reason. So maybe I was supposed to experience it so I can kind of, feel the pain of what people go through. So,
Well, to that, you said some people that have come to you have been in cars. So thinking of buying a home, I'm thinking of all the stuff it's only in my imagination because I'm not a real estate agent, but just imagine as a consumer what all things need to be together so that I can purchase a home. I would think that I would have to be living somewhere else before you could help me to find a home, which that might sound crazy, like getting saved before you go to church or getting yourself together before you get saved.
Right.
It might sound crazy like that, but I'm just wondering, if I'm in a car, I'm misplaced, displaced, homeless, how can you help me? Do you help me? Or is there something I need to do before I'm ready?
Well, the lenders do want to see, rental history. So they don't
Mhm.
want to see that sort of thing. But there are different programs out there that can help. They just, even if they don't see that, they want to see where you're paying, bills consecutively on time for a year. Like NACA is another program that, they take some
I've
other
heard of
things
NACA.
in
Okay.
account. So there's different programs that can help, even if you're in that situation. But it just takes just getting with the right person, the right agent that take the time with a person, and sit down with them and map out a game plan for them. I look at myself as a caseworker. So
Okay.
I talk to them. I look at your case, look at everything. I feel like I'm running a campaign, and then we try to map out a game plan for you, whether it's 6 months, whether you're ready to go now. My motto is no one gets left behind. So I think there are a lot of real estate agents that have that same mindset, but that's just my motto that I build on, because it can be me. It could still be me. You know.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's not even necessarily a wrong turn that that I knew to go the other way, but I decided to go over here and see what lies ahead. It literally could be you just didn't have all the information. Maybe the information when you went to research on the property wasn't updated,
Right.
but it still happened. So you can do your best. I'm not saying don't do anything, because even if you do your best, it could still fall apart. But I'm saying do your best, and don't feel bad. Well, I can't say don't feel bad, can I? Try not to feel too bad when you've done everything to do, and it still doesn't work out.
Right.
And it's not anything wrong with having another plan. Like, what if this doesn't work out? What if we can't move in? What if it wasn't foreclosed? Maybe they just didn't have it cleaned and ready for you yet. It could have been something more minor, but it's still a delay in you moving in. What would you have done? So getting a hotel for the night may have been like, let me go ahead and reserve it. We can always cancel it if we end up moving in on time. But you don't really think to do things like that until it's relevant to you, and say, hey, I had this happen one time. I want to make sure I pack an extra set of clothes, or whatever. So you're giving experience, and we still have people that's going to say, well, that couldn't happen to me, until it does. So being as prepared as possible is a great suggestion. I also wondered, what made you choose a real estate agent to find a rental property, because that's not something that I would have thought to do.
Well, so I was an agent when I was in Georgia, when I was living in Atlanta. So I always heard those stories, just out and about, of people, landlords taking the money and actually being foreclosed on and running off with the money. So I heard a lot of those stories. So I call myself trying to protect myself from that by, getting a regular real estate agent. Mind you, most real estate agents really don't do too many rentals. Uh,
Okay.
it shouldn't be based on compensation, but that's what it is. They really don't get paid that much for rentals. Uh,
Oh, wow.
but you can get a real estate agent that can at least refer you in the right direction. Maybe give you the contact information and phone numbers and stuff like that for the property management company.
Don't you think, with the situation as it is right now, people not being able to find a place, even if you charge the nominal fee, that there's a business to help these people find a place to live, even though it's not selling homes and it's not the big commissions, but
Right.
given the climate, that could be a shift, because that's not even something I even thought about, that real estate agents do. I understand why, now that you explained it, they don't, and why I hadn't heard about it. But now, given the climate, people can't find a place.
Right.
I think it
Yeah,
would be business.
I think it can. It just depends on maybe the broker's business model. Because a lot of
Okay.
times, for example, if a broker, because the broker pays the real estate agent, so if they're getting $200 or $100 for the rental, and then the broker, I guess in their contract, they take 50% of that, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's like it can be $50 or $25, and then after gas, it may not be enough, for it to make sense for them. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
So, but what a lot of us do is maybe refer it out, not really refer, but just get the information and give it to that client so they can call them and directly, so that it's not even about the money. It's just shooting them in the right direction or sending them a list of properties that are available. I know if I get busy, sometimes I do that. I never turn them away, but I always want to give them, hey, here's a list of all these properties that are available. This is the phone number for the agent. You can, contact them directly. Because I don't want them just waiting if I'm, selling houses and stuff like that. So.
Okay, so it's not a common practice with real estate agents.
I
hadn't heard of it, so yeah, I was thinking that was a different. Are you kind of bougie?
No, I'm not bougie. I'm just, just time management. I mean, I still want to help people. That's my thing.
No, I'm talking about when you got a real estate agent for you to move.
No. I just didn't want to run into what I ultimately ran into anyway. So I was trying to get away from that because I heard. I mean, in Atlanta, it was real bad in Atlanta. Like it was happening like all the time. Like I heard it all the time happening. So I was
let me do this. Well, it definitely was a good move, and if it can be a way to make money, I think real estate agents can definitely broker some deals because there's a lot of people that don't have a place to stay, but y'all might know something. I don't know. I just put that seed in your head. Do whatever you want to with it. I'm so grateful that you came back onto the show and we had this very casual conversation. One, it allows people to get to know you even further. Two, if they have questions, we probably have answered some of them because you've run into some of the things that people will run into, and you can help them through experience. I like that you're not going to just dismiss people because this isn't your cup of tea or I'm not making money, so I'm not going to educate you. So I thank you for doing that part. And I know a lot of people don't want to do that part because it doesn't make money. Yeah, they can find this information anywhere, but what a great relationship building tool that says, while I may not be able to help you, you can still find the answers you're looking for and let me give you a head start. So that's commendable and socially responsible, if I might add. Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Now, I don't know if you have any closing thoughts for the This Needs to Be Said audience, anything that you want to share, anything that maybe like some quick tips on what to look out for as you're looking for your next home that you want to leave us with on this show.
So you definitely want to, I just want to say a little something about affecting change. So sometimes we have to be the change that we want to see.
Absolutely.
So I had to do soul searching for myself and join different communities. I'm a part of Crown. So you want to get involved with the community. It's good to do deals with people and all that, but what are you doing to make a change? So I think that if we all try to do something, it would just help just the bigger scheme of things. So I had to do some soul searching myself, and it's been working out. I know there's a lot of money that's being spent to try to help make things right with housing and stuff. I know this, you may want to go to some of the city council meetings. I mean, we just have to get more involved.
Oh, absolutely.
I think there's a lot of people have just been kind of looking on the sidelines and nobody wants to get involved and wants to be a part of, providing a solution to the problem. We just want to keep talking about the problem with no solution. So
what is Crown? You mentioned that a moment ago. You said you're a part of Crown? Yes,
it's an organization that we get into the community to kind of help with housing. And we have an event that's going to be at the Southern Women's Show. We're going to be campaigning out there to try to get more members, but we're basically trying to make the community a better place. We're talking about affordable housing and how we can help affect change with that and how to educate people in terms of, getting housing that's affordable for them through down payment assistance programs and a lot of programs that are available to people that they don't even know.
All right. Is that some information that you can give me so I can put at the end of the show so people can?
Yes.
Okay, absolutely. I want to make sure we make that available to people so that they know how to get involved and get better educated with the housing situation here in Charlotte. It's so much information to know all at one time. So if we can give it to them in bite-sized pieces and meeting people like yourself to help solve the problems, they can see, okay, this feels like where I should be helping. Because I don't think sometimes we know where to help or what to do. And if you are not faced with the problem yourself, I guess you figure, well, I did my part. I'm not part of the problem, you know. So I want to say thank you for being a part of This Needs to Be Said. Thank you for sharing your story and your talents with the community. And I hope that we have more time with you in the future. And until then, have a super day.
All right. Thank you.
This needs to